we are going to work on main idea. So in this, or on this paper, there's 6 different sections that we're going to work on for main idea. Notice that it starts on paragraph 2, and I'm going to look back to our story. That just means that we're not using this first one because this first one is one sentence, I think. So we're starting here. So we just reviewed main idea. Main idea meaning what the text is mostly about. And since we're doing this paragraph by paragraph, we're going to talk about what each paragraph is mostly about. So I would suggest rereading the paragraph. So I'm not going to skim and scan on this one like we did for the Eastern Woodlands where we were matching or fill in the blank, or the context clues one. We're going to actually just read through this, and we will kind of check in and see, when do I know the main idea? When do I know what this is mostly about? And I will give you a hint that normally the main idea is at the beginning of each paragraph. Sometimes it can be snuck in kind of at the end, but most of the time they talk about it at the beginning of the paragraph. So let's do the second paragraph together. The Native Americans in the Great Plains had resources for survival. They had some rivers and streams, wild fruit to gather, and an abundance of buffalo to hunt. Even with these resources, they suffered many hardships due to dry land, hot summers, and heavy snows in the winter. When they received rainfall, it often flooded the region. Natives chose to live near rivers and streams because the grasslands and mountains did provide fertile soil needed for growing crops. It was difficult to travel by foot when hunting buffalo. No wonder many of the early Native Americans choose to live elsewhere. Now, I think this is one of the trickier ones because it starts out saying they had resources for survival, but really the next sentence is the only sentence that describes any resources. The whole rest of the paragraph talks about how difficult it was to live in this area. It says, even with these resources, they suffered many hardships due to dry land, hot summers, heavy snows. It talks about flooding. It talks about not fertile soil, that it was difficult to travel. So I'm going to say, I think the main idea is this was a tough area to live in. So I'm going to go back here for, let's see, and I don't need complete sentences necessarily. So GP, I'm just going to say GP for Great Plains, was a difficult place to live. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. There we go. So I think that is my main idea, that it was a difficult place to live. And now I'm going to look for some details. And I know there are 3 details on here, but I'm only asking that you do 2. So one of these I'm going to kind of cross out. Okay, so when I'm looking for details, I'm looking for specific things. The main idea is like the big topic that's covered. Details support this. So they're specific examples of whatever this is. So if our main idea for the second paragraph is that it was a difficult place to live, I'm going to look for specific reasons why it was a difficult place to live. So if I look back in here, we just talked about that. So for example, dry land, hot summers, heavy snows, flooding, no fertile soil. It was difficult to travel. All of these things are details. I'm only asking for 2. So for the first one, let's put hot summers. That's one detail. And then another detail would be flooding. So the details are those specific reasons that support this. So it was a difficult place to live because of hot summers. Yeah, that supports that. It was a difficult place to live because flooding. That supports that. These are specific examples. That one we're good on. So let's kind of start this next one. Again, I'm going to cross out that bottom one, and then I'm going to have you do the rest. So let's look back in the story. Let's look for paragraph 3. So here was 1, 2, here's 3. So again, I'm going to look at the beginning because that's normally where it is, even though it wasn't necessarily the very beginning in the last one, but that's where I'm going to still kind of be really listening for what the paragraph is mostly about. Although there was small game to hunt, the Great Plains' main source of food was the buffalo. Since the buffalo roamed all over the region, many people of the Great Plains became nomads. The buffalo not only provided them with food, but they found ways to use every part for clothing, all those things. The stomachs were used. When the Europeans began to bring horses for trade, many people moved to the Great Plains. The horses provided better transportation to hunt the buffalo. They used bows and arrows even after the Europeans introduced guns. They brought the buffalo back. There's one word that just keeps repeating over and over and over again. Do you know what that word is? Yeah, buffalo. They keep talking about how important the buffalo was to them for food, for clothing, blankets, pots, medicine bags, bowls, buckets, right? For everything. Buffalo was super important. So that's what I'm going to put as my main idea for paragraph 3. I'm going to put buffalo was important. Then, when I'm looking for details, details support my main idea, and they're also specific examples. So if my main idea is buffalo was important, how are they important? Those are the details I'm going to look for. So they were a source of food. That's probably the biggest thing, right? Main source of food. And they were also used for clothing, blankets, right? All those things. So that's what I'm going to put. I'm going to put food source. Does that support my main idea that it was important? Yeah, their food source would be very important to them. And then also clothing. Would clothing be important? You better believe it would be important. So that one's going to be a good detail too. That's what you're going to do for the rest of these. So you have paragraph 4, 5, 6, and 7 that you're going to work on. And remember, this very first sentence is technically paragraph 1 if you need to count. So really, you're just going to do all the paragraphs that are left on the second page of the reading. You're going to tell me the main idea and then give me 2 details for each. That does not have to be incomplete sentences. If you are working on a paper, then you can just submit your paper into the guard tray. If you are working on Canvas and you've pulled this paper into Notability, then you can submit it on Notability. Submit it through Google. If you, I would rather us not take a screenshot if possible. So really, if you're unsure of how to do it through Google, then just make sure that you either send me a Canvas message and I can explain, or we can talk about it once you get back into class and I can help you submit it. That's it. If you need to, go back and rewatch this video to make sure that you fully understand exactly what you're doing. If not, do it.